Like a wild goose chase, the clamor for the enforcement of local government autonomy has failed to yield the much-needed results.
The last administration had tried by way of directing direct remittance from the federation account to the local governments. Yes, that has happened, but what happens? It is back-cycled. They are given directive from the state to actually recycle those funds.
The crucial role of the local government arm in bringing the impact of democratic governance to the grassroots can't be overstated. But like a persistent virus, the state governors had stood in the way of the local government access to funds, thereby making councils ineffective.
State governors engaged in the legal dissolution of elected council officials and appointment of caretaker committees or sole administrators. Repeatedly, the courts, particularly the Supreme Court, declare such conduct illegal.
After a brief respite from the long-drawn agitation between the local governments and state governments, recently, both parties got back to the trenches as the local government chairman of Ijebu East filed a petition to the anti-corruption agencies on account of diversion of funds against the Ogun State governor, prompting the National Union of Local Government Employees to appeal to President Tinubu for urgent intervention. If this trending social media video is anything to go by, it further adds credence to the compromised situation the local government chairmen have found themselves, a far cry from autonomy.
With time, the reforms that are happening at INEC in order to ensure that one man, one vote counts will also have some positive effect on the local government.
According to Section 162, subsection 6, each state shall maintain a special account to be called State Joint Local Government Account, into which shall be paid all allocations to the local government councils of the state from the federation account and from the government of the state.
I think what has happened is that the same local government functionaries which they put in place are still the same functionaries that they used to divide this fund from developmental purposes.
So what the governor then resorted to means to say we cannot appoint caretaker committees, we'll find a way out. They then resorted to manipulation of local government elections. Hence, in all the states of the Federation, the ruling party in a state must win all the chairmanship and councillorship elections so that at the end of the month, nobody will question the governor.
While the law does not give powers to the state governors to touch the local government funds, the law, it appears, does not restrain the governors from doing so, as evident in the numerous cases of alleged diversion of local government funds by state governors. So the reality is that the local government chairmen go cap in hand to the state governors for funds from the joint accounts. The intervening force of the National Assembly has failed to change the system, as amending the laws requires 2/3 consenting votes of the state assemblies.
There is abuse of power in the running of that place, in the running of local government administration in Nigeria, particularly from the superintendents of state governments. They just need to be disciplined. There need to be a moral obligation on the part of state governors to allow development to thrive at the grassroots.
Likewise, the introduction of executive order by the Buhari administration to ensure funds meant for local governments are paid directly to them using the National Financial Intelligence Unit was struck out by the court.
In the legislative agendas, always have this issue of local government autonomy as a priority, area of legislative inputs. But sadly, for political reasons, the parliament most times meets, these challenges at the level of, the state level.
As the dilemma persists, with local governments at the receiving end, leaving a yawning gap at the level of grassroots development. The way forward seems to appeal to the moral conscience of the governors as a restraint on the much alluring local government funds for the preservation of the nation's democracy and long search for good governance.
The London Paris Club refund for local governments, cornered by state government, apart from Delta State, will have to be paid into the state, into the local governments. In some of the states, more than 5 billion was stolen. In some, over 2-3 billion was stolen. So those governors will have to account for the money. Secondly, Nigerians must insist that Section 7 of the Constitution and several decisions of our court on the autonomy of local government be respected. And finally, the Accountant General of the Federation must resume the monthly publication of the statutory allocations of the 3 tiers of government.
It is basically a moral issue now because the people at the grassroots are suffering. And when the government closest to them, which is the local government, is not functioning, then this is where we continue to have, issue of poor governance.
To cross this hurdle, all stakeholders and gatekeepers would need to consent to a constitutional amendment for local government autonomy and accountability to become a reality. Benga Ashiru, Arise News.
We're joined now by the president of the Nigeria Union of Local Government Employees, Hakeem Ambali. Good to see you on Newsnight tonight.
A pleasure coming to you.
Yes, from all indication, it looks like the local government employees are putting all the blame at the doorstep of the state governors. In other words, you are saying that the governors are the cog in the wheel of progress and development in the states and of course the local government areas. Why is it difficult for Norge to assert its independence, considering that the Constitution, Section 7, does empower you?
Well, thank you very much. You would have said we put it squarely on the doorstep of the governor. That is the correct way to put it. All Nigerians know the truth. Like the legal mind was saying, we have problem with the sections of 1999 Constitution as amended that eroded the independence of local government system. At the early part of the Constitution, Section 7.1 says that a democratically elected system of government and local government is hereby guaranteed. In a single breath, it put the creation, function, determination of boundaries, allocation of funds at the doorstep of state government. To even confuse the matter further, it also put this, there is another section that put this function under the National Assembly. So that is where we have the first lacuna. Now going to Section 162, it says the allocation of fund to local government shall be determined by State House or Assembly. That was where the complete erosion of the independence of local government take place. Now the drafter of the Constitution meant well that basket should be a source of pool of fund whereby federal allocation to 774 local government should be dropped and 10% of internet generated revenue across the state should also be put to make available amount of money allocation that will cater for grassroots development and growth available. But what do we witness? Apart from forceful seizure of the allocation meant for local government, using the instrumentality of law at the state level to legislate against the spirit of the Constitution by various houses of assembly, who are coerced, who are co-told, and who acted under the jackboot of various state government. Now legislated to even seize the internet generated revenue of local government. Under 4th schedule of the 1999 Constitution, the collectibles of local government are spelled out. Right. Local government shall be in charge of tenement rate. What did we witness? Government now, state government, now legislate another law that is contrary to the Constitution, saying that they are taking land use charges. Number 2, the collection of advertisement rate is the statutory function of local government. What do we witness? State government legislating using the House of Assembly to say that they are having signage board and signage agency. Again, the motor parks and garages are decided by various courts in Nigeria. For example, Oyo State, whereby the Court of Communal Judicial decided that state government has no right to collect revenues at the motor park. What do we have? We have state government creating park and garages board, cornering the resources meant for local government. So for us, because of the lacuna in 1999 constitution, it has eroded the financial independence, political independence, and administrative independence of local government in Nigeria.
Okay, now I'm happy you said political independence. Let's look at the beginning of all this problem. So let's talk about the selection and the election of local government
You meant
officers.
coronation.
Is that what it is?
When
Yes, it's coronation.
When you say coronation, what do you mean? Because I'm concerned in particular about how local government chairmen and councillors and other elected officers of the local government get elected in the first place. Does this have an influence in the exercise of their franchise or their autonomy? Why do you say it's coronation?
Effectively, the agitation for actualization of local government autonomy is in 3 legs: political autonomy, administrative autonomy, and financial autonomy. In terms of political autonomy, you know, Nigeria is a multi-ethnic nation. For us to have political inclusion and ensure political inclusiveness of small ethnic nationalities in Nigeria, that is the basis of having a local government, whereby there will be self-political determination, self-political expression, and self-political participation.
Right.
So it is expected that the political free will of Nigerians at the local government level should be allowed to succeed. But what do we have now? Various political leadership at local government level were unpicked, were coronated and appointed by various state governments using the so-called State Independent Electoral Commission. And when you have a system whereby the ruling party decide the composition of the electoral commission, what do you have? That is why all local government election conducted in Nigeria does not reflect the political will and aspiration of Nigerian people. That is why Nigerians are disenchanted. They are no longer participating. See the amount of registered voters in Nigeria. See the amount of people who participate in election. Because the basis of electoral value is at the local government level. That's where the world exists. Right. That's where the local government exists. So having seen that they are denied participatory democracy at that level, people become disinterested, disenchanted, and that allows for political manipulation.
Now, I would like to get your reaction to that rather embarrassing video where local government chairmen were seen prostrating before the Ogun State Governor, Dakwa Abiodun. How embarrassing is that to you? What are your thoughts on that? And when you go to the President Bola Tinubu, asking for him to intervene, exactly in what way do you expect him to intervene? Our
call was not that he should intervene on Ogun State. We said he should refix Nigerian local government system to alleviate poverty, to stem the tide of insecurity, to allow vocational skill, training, acquisition, and empowerment for Nigerian people, to intervene, to ensure we have functional health and education delivery at the local government level.
Yeah, but so how will he...
It's easy. It's easy.
Right.
But in fact, we are disturbed that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as a champion of local government system, is not looking at that side as of today. He's following the footsteps of previous government. As of today, there is no independent Ministry of Intergovernmental Affairs, which means the 774 local government are left as if they are orphans. They don't have a connection with the federal government.
You've not reacted to that video.
He will.
Yeah. No, I'm coming. Yeah. You see, that is the basic. And we have said it severally. In Nigeria, it is only 2 states that stand above board. The River State under the former governor, Yesin Wike, who never touched or pilfer local government fund. He remit directly allocation meant for local government directly into local government account. The second one, and to even ensure that there is grassroots development and growth in River State. He ensured that funding of primary education were borne squarely by the state, in line with the Supreme Court judgment that says local government shall only participate.
Right.
And now the second one is Jigawa State. Jigawa State does not touch local government fund. But what we are witnessing in Jigawa is that part of local government fund were used to fund primary education against the Supreme Court judgment. All lawyers across the country are guilty. Not only one, apart from the two.
So
that stand above board. Now
video.
let's go to the
Yes.
video. Well, the issue in Ogun State is confusing. I'm not embarrassed, but it's confusing. On one thread, we heard that a chairman of one local government was alleging the governor. On the second, say another breath, we saw chairman of local government prostrating again. And before you prostrate, it's a sense of acceptance of guilt. That what you have said was wrong. So for now, when they asked me, I said, fortunately I'm from Ogun State. What I expect, we have directed our branch in Ogun State to give us a comprehensive report of the development in Ogun State. Until we are able to do that, we might be talking without having empirical fact and data. So as of today, but generally, an overview of management of local government fund, I've told you, most of them directly or indirectly pilfer and tamper with local government.
Okay, then.
You're talking about the governors now. What about, I mean, the point that was raised earlier as to the level of compromise on the part of this local government chairman, the way they emerged in the first place. Could that be a
the
reason
process
why?
Of emergence
Is that part of the reason why they're not able to stand
majorly,
their
that
ground?
is it. Because you paper, the pipers dictate the tune. Let me tell you, none of them emerge through a democratic, transparent process. So even if you want to make a noise, they will tell you, did you win election?
Okay.
I impose it over the people. And the implication is that they are not accountable to the people. They are accountable to their principal who appointed them.
Okay, then.
That narrative must change.
That means it's an issue of the governors influencing the election of these local government public office holders and then trying to take charge of them. Let's wrap this up anyway. You jolly well said earlier that the president had always been a champion of local government courses. Now that he's in power, what do you expect him to do?
Yes, President has issued two categorical statements that his Renew Hope program shall focus on local government system. We are yet to see that. Let me tell you, infrastructural intervention or support fund shouldn't go to state government. If we are serious in this country, it should go to the local government because that is where people domiciled. Every state are within the purview of local government. The poorest of the poor reside within the rural community setting. And if we must target them, alleviate poverty, especially in given palliative, local government is the way to go. And we are not even asking for money in local government. Norgay is appealing to Mr. President. Our own infrastructure support, don't give us money. Get us a grader. Get us a tap boiler. Cesspit emptier. Those equipment that we can use to open up rural roads, get us ambulance. We are not asking for money. Get us those equipment to support the local government system so that you and I can go to our local government level. As of today, you can't go to a local government. You need to go on mountain to fast and pray before you go to a local government. Because everyone in the local government has moved to the town. Rural urban drift, rural urban migration, leaving the villages and rural route vulnerable to attacks by bandits and criminals. And until that subnational government is made to be functional and in existence, deliver services to the people, we will continue to battle with food insecurity. We will continue to battle with poverty. The GDP level at the local government level cumulate to the state GDP and national GDP. That is why Nigeria has become the poverty destination and poverty capital of the world.
Thank you.
If we must address that, we must focus on local government. We must reset local government to reset Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Once the foundation is weak, the building cannot last.
We must reset the local government.
So join the crusade to fix the local government.
Join the crusade, Mr. Hakeem Ambali is saying we must reset the local government system to reset Nigeria. He's the national president of the National Association of Local Government Employees, NOGE, the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees, NOGE. Mr. Hakeem Ambali, thank you indeed for coming to this night.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.